We all start somewhere, and I think that's actually really encouraging. I think we need to embrace our early work because even if it's not the stuff we're the most proud of now, it's gonna get us to the point where we want to be. Hi creatives, today I am sharing some of my absolutely earliest work, and we're also going to look at my portfolio today to see the things that I have learned over the last 8 years and how you can use those lessons to grow your own creative business. A little bit of background on my business before we start. I run my design studio together with my husband. We started in 2015 while we were both still at uni. He was studying digital media and he was learning lots about branding and marketing and web design, and I was actually studying ecological research and sustainability. For me though, I have always loved art and I've always done things like oil painting and pottery and art classes like sketching in my free time since I was basically as long as I can remember. One weekend I was visiting Jeremy in Denmark as he was doing an exchange year there, and it was weekend and we were completely alone in this big workspace. His school had just brought in Lego and lots of other big companies to teach them about human-centered design, and we both kind of loved this concept and saw the potential it had for sustainability, but also just for doing good things in general. At the same time, I was also really seeing in my sustainability degree how big of a role companies have in making better choices and making it easier for consumers to make good choices. From this, we decided that we could combine our backgrounds and start helping companies that were on a social and environmental mission so that we could help them build brands that were really strong and make a bigger impact. At the beginning, we had absolutely no clients, so the first thing we did was his uni had this incubator space where you could go. So every day after our uni work, we would go there and we would build up personal projects and our own website. I think we spent about 2 months putting together a website and personal projects because we were studying full-time as well. But when we started networking, this is the website that we actually got our very first clients with. I wanted to make this video to show that even if you don't have the most stunning work to start with, you can still get clients, and you have to experiment and see what works best for you and the types of clients that you want to work with. So let's dive into some of the very first work that we shared with clients when we were pitching them. Okay, so this is actually in the back end of my Behance profile. This is one of the projects that I created early on that we haven't kept published. And I just wanted to take you through it because this is one of the things that we did as a personal project. So we wanted to build up our blog and we wanted to learn and talk about design more. So we did this thing that we called One Helvetica a Week, which was basically a blog where we created one design using the font Helvetica every week. So pretty straightforward. So I want to take you through a couple of the designs that we created for this and just show some of the really common pitfalls that you might be making as a new designer. The first one is this poster that we created for something called Club Ohm. The good thing here is we have a limited color palette and a really bold design, which is great. And we imagine that this is probably the artist. We have the date, which is great. The one thing I am noticing though is that we're missing a lot of crucial information, and this is something that we will get from clients when we're working on projects. But for personal projects, it's really important that we don't forget to add those important pieces like how do you actually get tickets, or what's the website, what the social media handle is. All these different things that are going to make it feel like an actual real world project and that are going to show our clients that we understand the actual brief. I'm also quite unsure about this dot in the middle, and the bolding is a little bit random. I think this is something that we saw a lot in the kind of mid like 2015, 2000, and having like a lighter and a bolder in a word, and I'm just not quite sure it's helping the hierarchy here. Another design here, this one I don't actually dislike that much. I'm really unsure what it's for. I guess it's a magazine cover and kind of the inside. I quite like the layout on the inside, although I think that the text, we've created this kind of repeating thing going on, and I don't think it's particularly related to the content. But the cover, I would say, this is one of the things that we really want to look out for. The spacing on the sides here and on the bottom is quite tricky because you really want to make sure this is actually something that is going to work for print, which means you need to think about things like die lines. And we also want to pay attention to the alignment. So for example, here we've got this alignment line of the picture and we're bringing the word Helvetica in, but it's just not quite aligned. So we want to make sure we're either perfectly aligned or really not aligned to show that it's not a mistake. We also created this logo, I guess I could call it logo, which was for a travel company, and we've got this bird. If you were designing in 2015, you probably remember this kind of flat design era and using these gradients and shades. It definitely was a moment. The things I want to say about this is, first off, as the quality of a logo, the icon itself is incredibly difficult because you have very, very low visibility. So if you would make this really small, not only would the detail of the eye disappear, but the colors would blend into each other. When we're designing an icon, even if it will have color at the end, we will need to make sure that it works in black and white first. And I would think this one would be quite tricky to make in black and white. We can see here when we scroll down, when we've made a brand application, that the eye here, had to make it much bolder for it to actually work. And that's just a sign that it's just not a very flexible logo. I do like that we added the little feathers as a kind of branding asset. That is really cute. I also find that, just personally, that the spacing between all the letters, the kerning and the tracking here is just quite strange. It feels a little bit less friendly than I would want. And the copy here is just the travel with ease. The tagline is just very, very faint. So again, just a visibility thing. We were also experimenting with lots of different formats, and this is another one where it's great to actually start applying it to real world applications like business cards, because we can see here that although we have thought about the different things that needs to go in here, the spacing of this, again, the die lines that we need to have a think about. So we can see that on the right hand side, we're really getting cut off. And if the print would be cut just like a millimeter differently, we wouldn't be able to see all of this information. So we definitely want to keep within some sort of border here where we've got, the different die lines in mind. Now let's have a look at some of the very first client projects we actually took on and what we can learn from there. So now I want to have a look at our website, and this is the website that we used for our very, very first couple of years before we partnered with a development agency that we worked with a lot. And so we built it in Squarespace, which, to be honest, I still really like Squarespace. And this is when we had probably about a year worth of experience. So we've got a couple projects under our belt, and I wanted to take you through the site just to show you a couple of things I think are good and that we could have improved. And then we have that in mind for when we look at our portfolio site now, 8 years down the road. The first thing I want to point out is I really like that we did have a clear view for who we were, so design for positive change. Although I think now we talk a lot more clearly about sustainability and social impact, having that design for positive change was still a statement that wasn't us focused. It was focused on what the design was able to do for our client, which is really good. We also had a little bit about our mission and the different services that we offered, which I think helps make it really clear to our clients the different things that we can help with. And so having a different example list of the different things is really good. And we've also made sure to include testimonials here from people that we work with to build that extra trust, which I think is extra important when you're a new company. So let's have a look at the actual work section and see what we were doing at this point. So we did a couple different things. We had some packaging design projects, we had a website design, we did icons, we did a couple branding projects and illustration work. And so at this point, we were really trying to show that we had some diversity in the type of projects that we were able to help with so that we could get more of different things. Now, what I want to do is I want to take you into one of these projects and show you what the kind of layout looked like at this point so we can compare it. This was a branding project at this point, and you can really see how the focus here is the logo. So currently we work a lot with the actual full branding, but in this we have basically included different views of the logo and how we came up with the logo. And we have one example here, and that's basically it. So the one thing I really like is we do describe the client goals and our solution, which is really important because this is one of the best ways to actually show potential clients that you bring strategy and you bring a new perspective and you bring a lot of quality to your work. So having this was really, really important. but I really want to show more. So let's go have a look at one of the project that we did this early on, and we can see if we added a little bit more there perhaps. So this is also a branding project, and this was also in a way a kind of a renaming project because they were called William Ewells and Son, and we changed it. So here we got a little bit about our fonts, the colors that were going on, and we did this truck design for them. Okay, so this is good. So we do have a little bit more here. We got business cards, we've got what their social media would look like, we got the icon design. Okay, so I like that we have a little bit more information here. So that's a really good reference point for it now that we're gonna jump into our actual current portfolio. Lastly, I want to show you some of my more recent projects in our portfolio because I want to show you some tips and tricks when you're presenting your concepts to really win clients over. Okay, so now I want to show you our current portfolio, and you might have noticed that the company name changed. So we changed it from being focused on us, so our last name Juso, and we changed it to Future Form, which is a combination of future and then of course form, which is about design, but also reform. So that's something we wanted to make clear from our initial landing here, but we also really wanted to make sure that we're talking directly to our customers. So we've got this tagline saying activist, optimist, or just ready for change. We build brands for clients reforming the future. And the reason we put this is we noticed that the term sustainability felt quite difficult for some people because in some cases, you know, people might be working on amazing things for social change or ethics in general, and that might be something that doesn't fall into an environmental sustainability, but it has, you know, human rights aspects and other things that are super important because it all ties together, of course. So we didn't want those people to feel like they couldn't reach out. So we tried to follow this up with talking about sustainability, and we've even added a page on our website about sustainability in specifics. So here we talk about what that means to us, how we're approaching sustainability, the different things we're doing to reduce our own footprint. And so this is really important for showing credibility and building that trust with clients. We also have a section about our studio where we talk about who we are, our experience, and just trying to, you know, kind of talk about why we started and what we're doing to build the sustainable brand and help them build their own. So let's jump into the work section. Here we are not trying to talk so much about what we're doing because they're already gotten to the work page and they're really just trying to see some nice work. And so we try to focus on just having these really nice big hero images here so we can jump into the Samsas project and have a look at that one. What we've done is we've got one tagline that describes the type of brand that we worked on, so people can scroll through and start to see like, okay, well, we're also a sustainable fashion brand. I want to have a look at this one. So let's jump into the Samsas one and have a look. So the first thing you can see is we've got the different lists of what the services were that we did, and so that's just really helpful. You could even do them as tags, that might be really helpful, but at this point we're just trying to keep them on this page. So what we want to do here is we want to take basically what we did in the first year and have that background about the project, but instead of just having, you know, one little sentence at the top, I wanted to expand this a lot. So we always start with brand background, and this is information about the client, and that gives a little bit of a setting to why we design what we do. Then we start alternating images with text, and so we tend to put the logo first because that's something people are really interested in. And then we start by describing the challenge and our process, and this is basically how we are tackling those specific challenges. Sometimes these images are mock-ups, like in this case, and sometimes they can be more like process images, like sketches or research that we've done, just to kind of build credibility. And I suggest keeping it so that even if you put sketches, they should still look really neat and in context. We also want to show different applications so that someone who might be interested in, let's say, website design, can actually see that that's something we offer. And this section is one of my favorite sections on the whole portfolio site, and that is our impact section. Here, it's really important for us to show that we are actually doing something that will strategically help the company and even financially can help them. And so in this case, we're talking about having more reach, having more of an inclusion impact, having more access to inclusive device for different people. So trying to bring it to a point where people don't have to read the whole text to understand the impact, they can see it right away. We also always have a call to action at the bottom just to show that we are open for work, and if someone's interested, they can just say hi. I hope you thought that was fun to see kind of where I started, and I hope it inspires you to just create, even if it's not your masterpiece right away. Just try it, create lots of work that you feel excited about and that you can put on your personal portfolio. If you've been designing for a while, I would love to hear what you're thinking about your very early work. And if you're just starting out, what part do you find the most challenging about starting to create these first personal projects? If you want to learn how to create a brand with an actual client, I've actually created a series where I go through every single step of the process. So I'll make sure to link that here on the screen. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck with your projects and see you next time.